Committee open. Statements by members, declaration de député.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, today I want to congratulate Claude Dagenet, who has built up his AutoChem firm in Repentigny over the past 25 years, despite the many obstacles put in his way by financial institutions. He was honored as the Exporter of the Year by the Lanaudière Economic Development Agency. I want to also pay tribute to him for major achievements. He has been able to pass on his entrepreneurship to his son Jean, who heads up the company now, and to the company thanks to his mentoring efforts. He has kept the skills and jobs in Repentigny. And finally, he has helped make sure that all local children whose parents couldn't provide them with a good breakfast had one before starting school. On behalf of everyone in our riding, I want to thank you.
For Barry.
Mr. Speaker, this year marks the 6th anniversary of the Battle of Muli-Vaikal in the Sri Lankan War in May of 2009. I stand with the thousands of Tamils who lost family members in the final stages of the Sri Lankan genocide. This humanitarian catastrophe saw thousands of civilians shelled by the Sri Lankan government as they escaped the no-fire zone. According to the United Nations, between 40,000 and 70,000 Tamil civilians were killed during the final phase of the war in Sri Lanka. Today, the Sri Lankan government has still failed to show progress towards ensuring justice for the victims of these terrible human rights crimes. During the month of May, Tamil Canadians from coast to coast to coast will gather together to participate in multi-faith memorial services to honor their loved ones. It is also a time to reflect on the principles of peace, democracy and equality that we are able to enjoy here in Canada. Mr. Speaker, I am proud of the many contributions of Tamil Canadians that they have made in our country, have embraced our cultural landscape, exemplifying the very best of the Canadian community spirit.
Member for Burnaby Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Canada, citizens have a greater risk of developing multiple sclerosis than anywhere else in the world. As someone who comes from a family that has been directly impacted by this disease, I know firsthand the important role we as members of Parliament play in supporting those affected by MS. We must ensure the 100,000 Canadians living with MS receive quality, lifelong care and supports, and continue to advocate for the hard-working caregivers who help their loved ones get through the daily challenges of life with MS. And above all, we must accelerate our research efforts for Canadians living with severe forms of this disease for which there are no treatments nor cure. Today, I'm wearing a carnation to show my solidarity with the MS community. I encourage constituents in my riding to join with me by sharing this message on social media and by getting involved in a local MS event such as an MS walk or bike tour. Mr. Speaker, this statement is dedicated to my sister, Julia Stewart, and I urge each of us to join the fight to end MS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Late last night in the community of Joggins, 10 Cumberland County fire departments responded to a massive fire. 7 buildings were burning, including homes, a church, and a Masonic hall. The responding fire departments included Joggins, River Hibbert, Abdicate, Porkerville, Parsboro, Southampton, Amherst, Spring Hill, Leicester, and Trumanville, while the Oxford Department provided coverage to the Spring Hill area during the fire. The vast majority of these firefighters were volunteers who left the comfort of their own homes and their families to protect the lives and the properties of others. Now, thanks to their efforts, the fire was contained and no lives were lost. It should never be lost on those of us who live in the rural parts of this country the contribution that our first responders, including our firefighters, police, emergency services personnel, and others make on our behalf. They spend hundreds of volunteer hours training to fight disasters, just like we saw in Joggins last night. Our hearts and prayers go out to the community members, particularly those who lost their property. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Malpeque.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Liberal Party, I want to acknowledge our frontline law enforcement officers across Canada for the commitment they make each and every day to our safety and to the security of our neighbourhoods and communities. This being National Police Week, it is important that Canadians take this opportunity to reflect on the work the men and women in uniform do, which at times places them in harm's way. Across the country, Police officers and police services are present within our communities and take direct action in response to criminal activities, social unrest, and even mental health issues. As well, they contribute to public confidence for safe communities. Throughout National Police Week, I ask all members to reflect on the contribution made not only by frontline officers, but also the members of their families. It is the families that share most directly the risks and challenges faced by those serving in police forces across Canada. We thank you.
The honourable member for Moncton Riverview Dieppe. The honourable member for Moncton Riverview Dieppe.
Monsieur le Président, je reprends la...
Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate Mr. Savoy, who has won an important local prize for research. He has contributed a great deal to research.
Deserving recipient is Mr. Donald Savoy, a leading expert on public policy and federalism. Professor Savoy holds the Canada Research Chair in Public Administration and Governance and is the founder of the Canadian Institute for Research on Regional Development at the University of Moncton. Mr. Savoy is also an officer of the Order of Canada, member of the Order of New Brunswick, and a fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. His published research can be widely found in bookshelves from coast to coast. He is truly an expert in Canadian governance. Félicitations, Mr. Donald Savoy.
Congratulations to Donald Savoy.
Manitou and Campus Casey.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to pay tribute to Peter Chalikoff from Wawa, who is celebrating 25 years as a deacon. Those who know Peter will attest to his eternally positive attitude and infectious engagement in the communities he serves as deacon, Wawa and HoC Junction. His friends say he seems to know everyone and is always ready to help. Born into a large family, Peter grew up active in the church, but his path towards becoming a deacon was not a straight line. In fact, Peter drifted away from the church as a young adult, but found his way back, ultimately becoming part of a group of parishioners who wanted to serve in a larger role. Under the guidance of Fathers Randy Thomas, Jim Kessler, and Mark Bulk, Peter studied diligently and was ordained as a permanent deacon on May 6, 1990. A special Mass to celebrate Peter's silver anniversary will be held this Saturday at St. Monica's Church, where friends, family, and the congregation will show their appreciation for Peter Chalikoff and his 25 years of faithful service to the community. Congratulations, Peter.
Honourable member for Edmonton Central.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has the highest rate of multiple sclerosis in the world. Not only do 100,000 Canadians live with the disease, but their families, friends, and communities do as well. As Canadians, we have 2 times greater risk of developing MS than if we lived in France, 13 times a greater risk than if we lived in Argentina, and 27 times a greater risk than if we lived in Pakistan. MS is Canada's disease, and we have to join to fight across the nation. The unpredictability and sometimes invisible nature of this disease creates a challenge for Canadians living with MS and their caregivers as it affects their employment and financial security as a result. Canadians with MS need our support to ensure continued employment while respecting the daily challenges they face. Today, and for the month of May, MS Awareness Month, Canadians are wearing carnations to show solidarity with the MS community in the fight against MS. Mr. Speaker, I urge each of us to join this fight to end MS in our lifetime and effect positive change in the lives of those impacted by the disease today. Thank you.
The honourable member for Halliburton Cork.
Mr. Speaker, about 6 weeks from now, this House will rise for the last time in the 41st Parliament, and I will be one of the more than 35 MPs who have decided to leave this place by choice. I have enjoyed, but like all honourable members, I can only do my job because of the support that I get from my staff, and so I would like to thank my staff both here in Ottawa as well as back in Lindsay in my constituency office. And beyond my staff, also like all members, I can only do this job because of the support I get from my family, and I would as we approach Mother's Day, I would like to speak to the 2 most important women in my life, my mother June DeVolin and my wife Ursula DeVol, and thank them for the support that they have given me over the years and allowed me to do my job in this place. Thank you.
Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I would like to mark the first anniversary of the Board of Directors of the Portneuf Women's Centre, which was created on May 8, 2014, to provide women with a place to exchange their ideas and to grow. It also disseminates information and takes concrete action to improve the lives of women in Portneuf. Because of their hard work, the team at the centre have really become a strong voice for local women. In its first year, the centre has already held an information fair and informal workshops, trained community workers, and promoted services for women. All the work done by Julie Blackburn, the board chair, and her team is very impressive. I would like to thank all of these women who are investing to make Portneuf a place where we have equality and respect for everyone.
The honourable member for Sault Ste. Marie.
Mr. Speaker, our government makes no apologies for ensuring middle-class Canadians are aware of the measures that put more money back in their pockets. For example, we want Canadians to know about the new family tax cut and enhanced universal child care benefit, which will benefit 100% of families with children. The vast majority of benefits going to low and middle income families. The Liberal leader's plan will do the exact opposite. Instead of a family tax cut, he will bring in a family tax hike. Mr. Speaker, unlike the NDP or the Liberals, Canadians like those in my riding of Sault Ste. Marie can depend upon this government to leave more money in their pockets.
What a great rider. Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, to quote Alberta's Premier-elect, history last night. An early spring blizzard hit Alberta, but it didn't dampen our spirits because we also experienced an orange Chinook. Albertans looked in the mirror and decided it was time for change, a monumental change. Albertans embraced Notley's message that they didn't need to repeat history, instead they could make history, and make it they did, electing the first strong majority NDP government of Alberta. Putting families first and ensuring a genuinely sustainable resource development for Alberta. I look forward to working with my constituent, Rachel Notley, Premier-elect of Alberta, and as the media have said about Rachel Notley, this is what a political phenomenon looks like, indeed.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of the Liberal Party has shown his priority for the middle-class families, high taxes. Instead of a family tax cut, he introduced a family tax hike. The Liberal leader will raise taxes on families earning less than $60,000 who will use tax-free savings accounts. The Liberal leader admitted that he needs to raise taxes to fill the $2 billion hole in his plan. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal leader will have no choice but to raise taxes, including taking away income splitting for pensioners and taking away the tax-free savings accounts entirely. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Vancouver Centre.
Mr. Speaker, May is MS Awareness Month, and in what has become a tradition in this place, the MS Society is here to pin carnations on MPs to bring attention to this challenging disease. Canada is famous for hockey in the world, but we are infamous because we have the largest number of MS sufferers globally. While there's no defined cause for multiple sclerosis, new research tells us that there are many factors: lifestyle, environmental, genetic, and biological. We must do more research. There is no cure for MS. New treatments continue to evolve, allowing people to be able to work and live better lives, although there is still workplace discrimination. Those with MS and their families face financial challenges, the stress of caregiving, and the need for home retrofits. I encourage all members to reach out to local MS chapters in their regions, learn about MS and the needs of these Canadians, and commit to funding research into causes and finding a cure. Thank you.
The honourable member for Brampton-Springdale.
Mr. Speaker, our government designed our family tax cut and universal child care benefit to ensure that every Canadian family with children will have more money in their pockets to help make ends meet. That's because we know that Canadian families know how best to spend their hard-earned money. The Liberal leader doesn't want a family tax cut. He plans to bring in a family tax hike. Liberals don't want our Conservative plan to give money back to Canadian families because they think Canadians will spend it on beer and popcorns. In fact, I think member for Toronto Centre spoke for all Liberals when she said, amen to raising taxes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
New Westminster.
Mr. Speaker, in Alberta last night, history was made. The Prime Minister and most of his Alberta Cabinet colleagues and MPs woke up today to an NDP MLA and an NDP Premier. Indeed, the good folks of Alberta voted for change and a fresh start. They voted to end 44 years of Conservative rule and reject the ways of the old-style parties. They voted to elect Rachel Notley and the Alberta NDP to be their strong, stable majority government. Albertans proved that you can vote for the change you want and actually get it. Albertans voted to build a more diversified and resilient economy. They voted for better health care and a good education for their children. And they voted for good jobs and a new sustainable approach. We want to extend our hearty congratulations to Premier-elect Rachel Notley. Her campaign was optimistic, forward-thinking and respectful. And as we approach October 19, 2015, we are again reminded of what the late Jack Layton said so often: don't let them tell you it can't be done. Congratulations, Alberta.
The honourable member for Dauphin Swan River Marquette.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of the Liberal Party admitted that his plan for higher taxes has a $2 billion hole in it. The Liberal leader admitted that he will have to raise taxes on people earning less than $60,000 a year by cancelling their expanded tax-free savings accounts. He admitted that he would replace the Conservative family tax cut with a Liberal family tax hike. He admitted that he would get rid of the universal child care benefit, yet he also admitted that after all those tax hikes, he would still have a $2 billion hole. We know how the Liberal leader will fill this $2 billion hole. He will have to raise taxes. With the Liberal leader's opposition to income splitting for families, you can be sure he will also cancel income splitting for seniors. Mr. Speaker, middle-class Canadian families know they can trust the Prime Minister and our Conservative government to keep their taxes low and to protect the benefits they already receive.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Deschamps report points to an alarming number of cases of harassment and sexual assault within our Canadian forces. The report also reveals the pathetic failure of military and civilian leadership to fix the problem. Despite these shocking revelations, the Minister of Defence stated that he would ignore 8 of the 10 recommendations in the report. Does the Prime Minister think it is acceptable to ignore 8 out of 10 of the recommendations? Mr. Speaker, what the Leader of the Opposition has just said is totally 100% false. The Chief of the Defence Staff of the Canadian Forces stated last week that the military accepts all 10 of the recommendations in the report and that they take them very seriously. This matter of sexual misconduct has no place in the Canadian Armed Forces. Our soldiers have already started to put in place the recommendations, 2 out of the 10 of the recommendations, and they have appointed General Whitecross to put the 8 other ones into force.
Speaker, the Deschamps report says very clearly that military leadership turned a blind eye to rampant harassment and sexual assault. Another brave soldier has just come forward to report sexual assault, Corporal Esther Walke. Corporal Walke had to go to the media because commanders refused to take her reports seriously. These soldiers have fought for us. It's time we fought for them. This is the Prime Minister's responsibility. Will he stand up and tell his minister that 2 out of 10 is not a passing grade when it comes to ensuring that women in our military are not subject to sexual harassment? 20%, that's his mark, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the government, Canadian Armed Forces agree with the Leader of the Opposition, and I believe all Canadians, that any form of sexual aggression is totally inappropriate in the Canadian Armed Forces and must be dealt with in the severest way possible. That is why the Chief of Defence Staff appointed Madam Justice Deschamps to lead this inquiry. That is why he has accepted all 10 recommendations. It is why he has appointed General Whitecross to implement those recommendations, not 2 of the 10, Mr. Speaker, but 10 of the 10.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, on April 22nd, the Prime Minister claimed that as head of government, he knew that Mike Duffy was a resident of PEI because Duffy signed a declaration stating that he was a resident of PEI before he was sworn in. Now, those are the Prime Minister's nominations. Will the Prime Minister provide that declaration that he said existed prior to the nomination? Will he provide that declaration to Canadians? Because, you see, he said that Duffy signed it before being named. Canadians have a right to see it.
Speakers, I said the constitutional principle on this has been clear for almost 150 years, Mr. Speaker. And as you know, the case is before the court, so it would be inappropriate to comment on evidence before the court. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we know that the Leader of the Opposition is just one of 68 members of the NDP caucus who owe $2.7 million, Mr. Speaker. The actual Leader of the Opposition himself owes the taxpayers $400,000. So I would encourage him to actually pay that $400,000 and encourage the rest of the members to do the same.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the problem is that evidence is not before the courts, contrary to what that member just said. The problem is that evidence doesn't exist. What the Prime Minister said here in the House was that he had a document signed by Duffy prior to the nomination. The same way he said that he accepted with regret the resignation of Nigel Wright, and then he boasted on radio in Atlantic Canada that he had fired the sorry son of a gun. That's the difference. You can't say one thing and its opposite day after day and expect Canadians to believe you. Where is the document? Where is the declaration that the Prime Minister of Canada told Canadians existed that was signed by Duffy prior to his being named to the Senate?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
It would be obviously inappropriate to comment on evidence that's before the court, Mr. Speaker, but when he talks about sorry son of a guns, Mr. Speaker, it's actually the NDP who owe Canadian taxpayers, 68 of them, $2.7 million, another 23 of them, over $1.1 million, Mr. Speaker. We know that the Leader of the Opposition has within his own office a union member doing partisan work, Mr. Speaker, against the rules of this House. They accepted $350,000 in illegal union donations, Mr. Speaker, robocalls, on and on and on. Pay it back.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Voici le problème, Monsieur le Président.
Here's the problem, Mr. Speaker. At first, the Prime Minister said that he had never given any instructions to Nigel Wright. But after that, we learned through a duly signed email that everything was good to go. And then he said that he had accepted Nigel Wright's resignation with regret, and then he boasted that he had fired him himself. Both of those can't be true. Here in the House on April 22nd, the Prime Minister affirmed that before appointing him to the Senate, he had a declaration from Mike Duffy that he resided in Prince Edward Island as required by the Constitution. The Canadians have the right to see that document. Otherwise, they'll conclude that it wasn't true. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I already said, this matter is before the courts, so it would be inappropriate to comment on it. But there are other questions, Mr. Speaker. For example, the member for Quebec, why did she use close to $30,000 in her own riding? And why was that money used for an illegal office in Montreal? I certainly hope that the member for Quebec will do the right thing and reimburse citizens of Quebec those $30,000. The Honourable Leader, the Honourable Member for Papineau.
The Prime Minister started giving thousands of dollars in benefits to wealthy families like his and mine. Now, 10 years later, he's giving them a $2,000 tax break and thousands more each year. When will he understand that those families don't need the help? Fairness means asking those who've done well to help those who need it the most. So why not cancel those tax breaks and benefits for the wealthy?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, in 2006, the Prime Minister brought in the universal child care benefit for every family in Canada. He brought it in for families with incomes of $20,000. He brought it in for families of incomes of $30,000. He brought it in for families of $40,000, Mr. Speaker. But the Liberal leader thinks all of those people are too rich. And as a result, he would raise their taxes, Mr. Speaker. His plan has a $2 billion hole, which he admits. Economists say that his tax increases don't raise enough money to fund his spending. The only way he can fill his hole is through more high taxes on the middle class.
The Honourable Member for Papineau.
A $2 billion tax break that favors the wealthy. A higher tax-free savings limit for the wealthy. Thousands more in child benefits for those who need the help the least. That's the Prime Minister's plan. Our plan offers thousands more every year, tax-free, to those who need it most. Why didn't he instead use every nickel to help the middle class and those working to join it?
Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal leader should know that budgets do not balance themselves, and neither does his platform. He admits there's a $2 billion hole in his platform. On top of that, economists say that his proposed tax increases will not raise the money necessary to fund his expensive promises. He has a massive financial hole. The only way to fill that hole will be higher taxes on the middle class. He already wants to take away income splitting from families. We know he'd take it away from seniors, too.
The Honourable Member for Papineau. Mr. Speaker, for close to 10 years, every year, the Prime Minister has been giving billions of dollars in tax breaks to families like his and mine. The Prime Minister has his priorities in the wrong place. Our plan shows that we can give more to families who need it the most by asking for a bit more from those who need it the least. Why didn't he choose to give back to the middle class and those working hard to join it? The Honourable Minister of Employment. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal leader has already admitted that there is a big financial hole of $2 billion in his plan. And in addition, economists say that his tax hikes will not be enough to fill that hole. This hole that he created with his election promises. So what do Liberals do when they don't have enough money? They increase taxes on families. Mr. Speaker, he already admitted that he wants to take away income splitting for families, and he's going to do exactly the same thing for seniors.
Member for Parkdale High Park.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadian families are looking for help in the face of rising costs like childcare and housing, but instead the Conservatives plan to waste billions on an income-splitting scheme that won't benefit 85% of Canadians. And that's just slightly worse than the Liberal tax scheme that would also spend billions and would leave the bottom two-thirds of Canadians behind. Last night, voters clearly showed they're tired of the same old choices when it comes to economic policy. So what will it take for these Conservatives to get the message?
The message from Albertans and from all Canadians is they do not want higher taxes. And that is why we have cut taxes. The family tax cut and benefits puts more money in the pockets of 100% of families with kids. The income splitting for families saves up to $2,000 for couples with kids. Our increased universal child care benefit will pay almost $2,000 per child under 6 and $720 for kids 6 through 17. The Liberals and NDP have billions of dollars in promises. The only way they could pay the price of those promises is by raising taxes on the middle class. That's why middle-class Canadians will elect this government.
Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-les-Basques. Mr. Speaker, the middle class is losing ground, but the other parties don't care. The Conservatives are wasting billions of dollars on their income splitting scheme that will benefit only 15% of Canadians. And the Liberal tax plan will also cost billions of dollars while offering nothing to two-thirds of Canadians. Will the government abandon its budget that only profits the wealthy few and put forward a real plan for the middle class? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, that's exactly what we have with our family tax cut and the increase in the universal child care benefit. Mr. Speaker, income splitting and the family tax cut will put back money in Canadian families' pockets. And our increase will give $2,000 for children under 6 and $720 for children aged 6 to 17. The Liberals and New Democrats have billions of dollars in election promises that they will finance through tax hikes, and that is why the middle class is going to elect the Conservative Party. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, what is clear is that Canadians are ready for change and principled leadership. Yesterday, Albertans voted for a government that will grow the economy to ensure prosperity for all Albertans. They voted in favour of a diversified economy that will create good jobs. They also voted to put an end to the roller coaster of economic boom and bust. Will the Conservatives now work with the provinces to grow the economy responsibly and sustainably? The Honourable Minister of Employment. Well, that's exactly what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. We are cutting taxes for the middle class. We have broadened the TFSA where 60% of participants earn less than $60,000 a year. The Liberals and New Democrats want to take this benefit away from Canadians by hiking taxes on people who earn less than $60,000 a year. Mr. Speaker, we are putting money back in the pockets of parents and taxpayers, whereas the New Democrats and Liberals would increase taxes on Canadians, and that is why Canadians are going to elect us and not them.
Speaker, yesterday, Albertans made their voices heard loud and clear. They're tired of the Conservatives' unbalanced boom and bust approach. Instead, they voted for a diversified and more resilient economy. They voted for optimism and principles, and they voted for a government that will build bridges and open markets and be a good partner in creating value-added, sustainable jobs for all Albertans in all sectors. Will the Conservatives here finally get the message from Albertans and work with the provinces on a new, more progressive approach to resource development?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Responsible resource development creates jobs and economic growth while protecting the health and safety of communities and the environment. We look forward to the opportunity to work with the new Premier. There is no question that market diversification is an imperative. Regions around the world, countries around the world are looking for the kind of partnership with Canada. We offer fiscal stability, political stability, and moving forward, Mr. Speaker, with Alberta, we look forward to the opportunity to serve those new markets and continue to develop our resources responsibly.
The Honourable Member for Churchill.
Well, responsible economic development requires a more constructive relationship, not just with the provinces, but with Indigenous peoples.
Exactly.
This government has refused to engage respectfully. They have refused to build partnerships and respect Indigenous rights. But as Alberta Premier-elect Rachel Notley said yesterday, we can be better partners and we can learn from our mistakes. The question is, will the Conservative government take their lead, implement Bill C-641, and respect Indigenous rights in Canada?
Mr. Speaker, the highest form of The highest form of Aboriginal and treaty right acknowledgement and protection, Mr. Speaker, is constitutional protection. And this is what Section 35 of the Constitution of Canada does. Furthermore, the human rights of all Canadians, including Aboriginals, are protected by the Charter of Rights and other constitutional guarantee. So, we don't need any legislation that is lesser than the Constitution of Canada.
Honourable member for Churchill.
Mr. Speaker, I suggest the minister across listen to Premier-elect Rachel Notley's speech yesterday, where she said that her government has been entrusted to be better neighbours and better partners with Indigenous peoples in Alberta. She looks forward to consultations and to learning from Indigenous peoples in her province. This federal government has disrespected Indigenous peoples time and time again. So the question is, will they take Alberta's lead? Will they stand up and respect Indigenous people's rights as they go forward? Or will they turn out the way they turned out yesterday?
I'm happy to learn by the member that Alberta will follow the lead of the federal government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I mean, this is the same party and member, okay? This is the same party and member that whenever we tried to give human rights, basic rights to First Nations in this country, they voted against it. I'm talking about marital property rights. Why would they vote against this? Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, anytime...
Fortunately, the minister ran out of time there. But I would ask members to come to order. There's quite a lot of chatter back and forth, and I understand more order. Well, not having a deputy.
The honourable member for Alfred Pellant. Mr. Speaker, it is not too late for the Conservatives and Liberals to change their minds and listen to the millions of Canadians who are opposed to Bill C-51. Experts, legal specialists, business people, and even former prime ministers all agree C-51 is ineffective and dangerous and will undermine our rights and freedoms. So, will all parties join us today in voting down C-51 and defending the rights and freedoms of all Canadians once and for all? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, it is not too late for the New Democrats to wake up and take measures to protect over 30 million Canadians who have been victims of terrorist attacks, like the ones we saw here in Ottawa and Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Mr. Speaker. 7 times we have increased the resources for police forces, and they voted against it. We put in measures to put in place prevention strategies and to combat terrorism. The NDP voted against it. We put in places to exchange information with our partners. They opposed it. They'll oppose it again tonight. But, Mr. Speaker, Canadians can count on a Conservative government to protect the Canadian public. The honourable member for Alfred Pellant. Mr. Speaker, Canadians don't have to choose between their rights and their safety, contrary to what other parties would have us believe. We've heard all sorts of statements and fear-mongering from the Conservatives and Liberals in this House, but we in the NDP will not allow fear to triumph over our principles. We are going to stand up today to defend our rights and freedoms, and we're going to vote against C-51. Will the Liberals and Conservatives finally join us? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I urge my New Democrat colleagues to look to the Supreme Court, which ruled that our security agency is a model because it balances rights and safeties. It protects Canadian citizens. Mr. Speaker, when will the NDP join us to put in place effective and balanced measures, and will they support our budget where we double resources?
And the honourable member for Squamish,
Mr. Speaker, today New Democrats are joining over 100,000 Canadians who are calling on Liberals and Conservatives to do the right thing and stop C-51. Tonight, this House will take a final vote on this dangerous bill. It's the last chance for Liberal and Conservative members to stand up for our rights and freedoms and vote against a bill that we all know is fatally flawed. Will the government take this last opportunity to change course? Will they listen to so many experts and so many Canadians? And will the government scrap this dangerous bill?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, it's the last time for the NDP to join the Muslim Facing Tomorrow, the America's Islamic Forum for Democracy, Mr. Speaker, to join the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, Mr. Speaker, because they say that we need strong tools, Mr. Speaker, that protects also the rights of Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we need to make sure that the jihadi international terrorists who are threatening us are prevented from acting, Mr. Speaker, by filling the gap of our information sharing, Mr. Speaker. We will stand up for Canadians. Let's vote tonight for having a safer country, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, the leader of the Liberal Party plans to reduce taxes for the middle class. This plan is simple, fair, and it applies to all Canadians. Today, I'm going to give another chance to the Conservatives to answer this question because Canadians deserve a clear response. Yes or no? Do the Conservatives oppose, like the NDP, a tax hike for people who earn $200,000 or more to give back to the middle class? Yes or no?
No! The
Honourable Minister of Employment. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal leader should know that budgets don't balance themselves. So his election platform will not balance itself either. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, they have a $2 billion hole, and economists are saying that these tax increases will not raise enough funds to fill in the other gaps in his plan. He will have to hike taxes on the middle class in order to fill in the hole in his plan. And, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, that includes the removal of income splitting for seniors.
Mr. Speaker, if you focus on the middle class and all those working so hard just to get there, if you focus on fairness and growth and giving everyone a decent chance to succeed, if that's your objective, then Canada should have a bigger and better child benefit, one that is clean and simple, fair and tax-free across the board, one that provides more help to 9 out of 10 Canadian families, middle and lower income families, the ones that need that help. It is basic common sense. Why is this government against it?
Right. The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, a multi-billion-dollar financial hole is not common sense. It's the opposite, in fact. The Liberal leader admits he has a $2 billion hole. But on top of that, economists say that his tax increases will not be sufficient to fund his billions in additional promises. This is a massive hole that the Liberals would fill by raising taxes on the middle class. Now, they admit they would cancel income splitting for families. They would also have to do it for seniors, among other tax increases necessary to fill that massive hole. Will the Liberal member stand up now and explain how he's going to fill that financial hole?
The Honourable Member for Wascana.
I'm the one member of this House who actually balanced a budget. These guys in new Conservative debt. This government is a fiscal fraud. Now they're punishing single moms and dads who can never qualify for income splitting, but they're gifting a $2,000 tax break every year to those earning $250,000. Wow. Why are Conservatives against a tax cut for the middle class across the board, and why are they against a better child benefit, more generous and fair?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, there's nothing generous or fair about raising taxes on the middle class, which is what exactly the Liberal Party would have to do. They admit
they admit that they have a $2 billion hole in their plan. On top of that $2 billion hole, economists say proposed Liberal tax increases will not be sufficient to cover the costs of Liberal spending promises. Mr. Speaker, we know what Liberals do when they have multi-billion-dollar financial holes. They raise taxes on middle-class Canadians. They already admit that they're going to raise taxes by cancelling income splitting for families. They'll do that to seniors, too.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Yesterday, after being forced to take down images that endanger our soldiers, the Prime Minister's office had to recognize that they'd made a serious mistake. And yet, yesterday, once again, a senior official stated that these did not violate the security protocols. This is ridiculous, Mr. Speaker. Several of our soldiers were endangered by this. How could the Prime Minister allow something like this to happen in his office? Looking at them might have been a good idea. It's not. The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, when concerns were raised about some of the images, the government withdrew them immediately in order to check and see if any protocols had been properly followed. And upon review, the government decided that 2 of the videos should not have been posted. We regret this error, and we are reviewing the communications protocol for those images.
The Honourable Member for St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, this so-called error is shocking. You know, really DND obviously knew that any images that could identify our special forces were a security risk. That's why they required journalists to sign an undertaking that they would not publish such images. So why then did no one in the PMO stop to think that their video violated these very simple rules promulgated by the DND? Why did they later claim that DND had actually approved the video when that wasn't true, Mr. Speaker? And why did the Prime Minister allow our troops to be put at risk to have a photo op for himself?
Where's accountability? The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Speaker, contrary to the member's inaccurate assertions, as the Chief of the Defence Staff has said in a statement issued last night, there was no risk to personnel, which is why there's no requirement for any Canadian Armed Forces personnel to be withdrawn from Operation Impact. The government regrets the error, will take every possible measure to ensure that it is not repeated in the future.
The Honourable Member for St. John's East.
Why did you tell the journalists? Mr. Speaker, it's been 6 days since Madam Justice Deschamps tabled her devastating report into the systemic problem of sexual harassment and assault in our military, a fundamental disregard for the rights of women. We need confidence that the report's recommendations be fully implemented, not just studied or deemed interesting ideas, and that there be a review of the military justice system that so utterly failed these women and men. Will the Minister act swiftly to personally ensure that all recommendations are fully implemented, and will he commit to a review of how the military justice system handles these cases?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, once again, of course, sexual assault of any kind in any aspect of Canadian society is completely deplorable and unacceptable, and that is particularly true in the Canadian Armed Forces, which is why General Lawson commissioned this report by former Madam Justice Deschamps, and it is why he and the military leadership have committed to implementing all 10 of its recommendations. Progress has already been made on 2. I think realistically we can't expect all 10 recommendations to be implemented in 6 days, but General Whitecross has been charged with this mandate and is making progress. And Mr. Speaker, we will ensure that the job is completed to ensure that the Canadian Armed Forces are a safe environment for women and people to work in, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Argenteuil-Papineau-Mirabel. Has the Minister understood the urgency of this? According to Deschamps' report, sexual assault and harassment are not taken seriously by military leadership. The report clearly accuses the armed forces of maintaining a culture that is hostile to women. This is an embarrassment for Canada. This is simply degrading and insulting for all of the women who commit to protecting and defending our country. Does the Minister understand the urgency of the situation? Is he prepared to personally deal with the situation? The Honourable Minister of Defence. Mr. Speaker, obviously, all Canadians and parliamentarians want or see this as unacceptable, and that is why the Chief of Defence Staff asked Madam Justice Deschamps to do that study, and that is the reason why the Canadian Armed Forces have accepted all 10 recommendations. It's the reason why Madam General Whitecross was charged by the CDS to fully implement the recommendations. And as Minister, I will be closely following progress in their implementation.
Mr. Speaker, of all the crimes in the criminal code, child porn is one of the worst of the worst. The idea that criminals are exchanging materials that exploit our most vulnerable in our society is a deeply troubling one. Canadians want to know that the individuals who partake in this kind of trade will face justice and have to answer for their actions. We have heard today of an important operation aimed at countering child porn. Can the Minister of Public Safety update this House regarding the details?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
I will, Mr. Speaker, but let me thank the great member of Kildonan St. Paul for her outstanding commitment against human trafficking and child exploitation. Well, I would like to inform the House that more than 36 people have been arrested in connection with child pornography ring operating in 17 countries, one of which an individual who may have had more than 2,000 victims. Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to fight against these people who attack our children. We'll continue to protect them, and we'll continue to put these people behind bars. We're going to put legislation in place against sexual predators.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to giving benefits to the wealthy while ignoring the rest of us, Conservatives are consistent. You see, less than 40% of unemployed Canadians receive unemployment insurance benefits. But instead of improving access and making sure that the unemployed can put food on their table, the Conservatives chose instead to use the EI count to give benefits to the wealthy Canadians who don't need them. Mr. Speaker, this money belongs to workers. Why are the Conservatives raiding the EI fund to pay for their bad policies?
Speaker, the member's question is false. In fact, the budget put out a policy wherein the EI account balances over time and EI premiums pay for EI benefits. What the NDP wants is a 45-day work year, where people would work for 45 days and then they would collect EI for the rest of the year. This would cost billions of dollars. Of course, workers and small businesses who employ them would pay for it through higher payroll taxes. We believe the opposite. There will be a surplus in the 2017 year, and we'll use it to cut premiums by 21%.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, with the Conservatives, if you are one of the 1.3 million unemployed Canadians, you are certainly not a priority. In their last budget, rather than using the EI fund surplus to help our too numerous unemployed, they preferred to offer programs that will almost exclusively help the wealthiest Canadians. With fewer than 40% of the unemployed who are eligible for benefits, when will the Conservatives stop using this money to fund their electoral goodies rather than supporting workers when they are going through hard times? Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the question is false. There was a deficit in the EI fund during the recession, and now the fund is paying that deficit back. But in 2017, we will be reducing the premiums for workers and for employers by 21%. And Mr. Speaker, the NDP simply want a 45-day work year where people would work for 45 days and then get benefits for the rest of the year. And that's ridiculous, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Member for Louis-Hébert. Mr. Speaker, yesterday my leader and I announced that the NDP had a realistic, pragmatic solution to finally solve the issue of painting the Quebec Bridge. This is a file that the Conservatives have let drag on for 10 years. I will be tabling a bill that will oblige the owners of heritage railway facilities like the Quebec Bridge to be maintained in their original condition, and this at the owner's expense. Is the minister, does he agree with our solution? The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, our Conservative government is the only one to have put forward measures that will allow us to move forward with our partners. The Honourable Minister has the floor. I would ask members to come to order, please. The Honourable Minister. So, with our partners, the NDP's proposal is just a political illusion, and they know very well that with the calendar for the House, they'll never be able to vote on it. This is another way to demonstrate that they're not serious in their work. We are going to continue to work by putting tangible solutions on the table, not mirages like that. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, they've had 10 years now, and they have laughed about the Liberals being unable to paint the bridge. A mirage is saying that they hadn't have to pay. The mirage is this, that the Conservative government said that our regions have the powers, but they are abandoned and left to rust. If they wanted to, they could pass this legislation 1, 2, 3, done. Why are they dithering? It's classic. Order, please. The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, probably we know that the member had a photo contest for the Quebec Bridge. We have worked to move this forward. We have $100 million. The
Minister's been asked the question. He's in the process of answering. Members need to come to order to allow him to do so. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the NDP has to defend their own commitments with CN. CN has to respect its own commitments to the people of Quebec. We have moved forward with $100 million. The CN has to do that. Their bit, it's not a bill that'll change that.
Speaker, DND forbid the media from taking pictures of Canadian Forces members in Iraq and Kuwait, saying it would put them and their families in direct danger. But the Prime Minister's taxpayer-funded propaganda site clearly showed the troops' faces. The government first claimed they did nothing wrong, then blamed the department, then backtracked and admitted their mistake, a mistake, by the way, that this minister has also made. Who will the Prime Minister fire, or will no one be held to account for putting our troops and their families in danger?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
I've made no such mistake. I've only ever posted images released by the Department of National Defence and the Canadian Armed Forces for public consumption. Mr. Speaker, with respect to the matter this week, obviously an error was made. That is regrettable. The images were removed as soon as this was brought to the attention of the Prime Minister's office. The protocols are being reviewed to ensure that such an error does not occur in the future, and the Chief of the Defence Staff has issued a statement indicating that this has not placed members of the Canadian Armed Forces in harm's way, and that therefore none will be removed from the theatre. So I think it would be more responsible for the member to engage in issues like this factually rather than with really over-the-top exaggeration, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Toronto Centre.
Speaking of shameless photo ops, despite hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on ceremonies and announcements, the CETA trade deal has stalled. Conservative rhetoric on trade just doesn't match the results. A $3 billion trade deficit in March, a historic record. Our share of Western export to Asia has been cut in half, and we are at risk of being kicked out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This government prefers talking points over market access, photo ops over real export opportunities for Canadian businesses and Canadian workers. When will the Conservatives take some real action on trade?
Hey! The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it is this Conservative government that has taken action on trade. In fact, over the last 9 years, we've concluded trade agreements with 38 different countries, and there are many more to come. Compare that to the awful Liberal record on trade over 13 long years, 3 small trade agreements, got absolutely nothing done. Mr. Speaker,
This government understands how important trade and investment are in driving future economic growth in our country, and the Liberal Party has proven time and time again that they have absolutely no credibility on trade.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, today many parliamentarians are fasting to raise awareness about hunger in Canada as part of Food Banks Canada Every Plate Full campaign. 7% of seniors in Canada depend on food banks. Even though they receive pension benefits, they just don't have enough to make ends meet. Mr. Speaker, no one, and certainly no senior, should ever go hungry. Why are the Conservatives refusing to implement a national senior strategy that would allow our seniors to retire in dignity?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to seniors' poverty, our government has a record we can be proud of. Canada has one of the lowest seniors' poverty rates in the world, thanks in part to our actions, which include removing hundreds of thousands of seniors from the tax rolls completely, making significant investments in affordable housing for low-income seniors, and introducing the largest GIS increase in a quarter century. Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that they can count on our government to deliver for seniors. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Notre-Dame de Grâce-la-Chine. Seniors deserve better from our government. A recent report demonstrated that seniors and those near their retirement are a growing part of the population declaring bankruptcy, and they have bigger debts than our young people. By deciding to increase the age of eligibility for the GIS and the OAS to 67, the Conservatives are just making the situation more difficult for them. Why is the government letting our seniors down? The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, may I speak it again? When it comes to seniors' poverty, our government has a record we can be proud of. Canada has one of the lowest seniors' poverty rates in the world, thanks in part to our actions, which include removing hundreds of thousands of seniors from the tax rolls completely, making significant investments in affordable housing for low-income seniors, and introducing the larger GIS increase in a quarter century. Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that they can count on our government to deliver for seniors, and they voted against each and every one of them.
Honourable member for Niagara West Canberra.
Mr. Speaker, as I travel through my riding, speaking to parents about how they plan to save enough money for their kids to attend school, play hockey, and partake in extracurriculars, which defines what it means to be a kid here in Canada, their answer has been the same. This government's family tax cut and enhanced universal child care benefit, which benefits 100% of families with children, is the answer. Could the Minister of Employment please update this House about the benefits of our government's plan to support Canada's middle class?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Speaker, the family tax cuts and benefits put money in the pockets of 100% of families with kids. The increased universal child care benefit to $2,000 per child under 6 and $720 for kids 6 through 17 will help many families, in fact, all of them. And the income splitting, or family tax cut, will help families where one spouse earns more than the other. Now, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals said that they want to take that away, raising taxes on millions of families. But if they're going to take away income splitting for families, we can count on them to take it away for seniors. Exactly. We won't let them do that.
Honourable member for Trinity Spadina.
The members on that side can't get the finance minister to answer a question either. 27 mayors from Ontario's largest cities were in Ottawa this week. They're feeling a little ignored. They're tired of being treated unfairly by this Conservative government. No new money for infrastructure this year after no money last year. Roads, bridges, transit, it just doesn't build itself. Cities need some help. Now, I've been asking the Minister of Finance to explain, but he's as tough to find these days as a Tory in Alberta. Tough to find, let me tell you. So why do these mayors have to wait? Why can't these mayors get help this year from this government? Why can't they help now?
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, that's the longest and largest infrastructure plan in the Canadian history. We already have transferred $2 billion last year of the gas tax fund. We'll do the same this year, and we will continue to do that all across the country in support and in respect of jurisdiction with the provinces and municipalities.
The member for St. John South Mount Pearl.
Mr. Speaker, in yet another devastating blow to marine safety in Canada, the St. Anthony Coast Guard Communications and Traffic Centre in Newfoundland will close later this year. Distress calls for the Great Northern Peninsula will now be answered outside the area, even outside the province. The Mayor of St. Anthony and residents are waving red flags. The Conservatives are sacrificing the safety of our mariners. Mr. Speaker, lives are on the line. When will this government make the safety of our mariners the #1 priority?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, Mr. Fisher's notions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And while I appreciate the member's question, he seems not to understand the changes that are being made. Through investments made by our government, we are replacing decades-old equipment with modern, state-of-the-art technology in strategically located centres. This new technology will improve workload so that our highly trained Coast Guard employees will have an even greater ability to focus on the safety devices the services that they provide to members. You'll find detailed information on the Coast Guard website and encourage him to review it.
Very good. The Honourable Member for Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that our government is providing more choice, lower prices and better services for their cell phone plans. Unlike the opposition parties who want higher taxes and thus higher prices, we will continue to support policies that lead to more competition, lower prices and lower taxes. Can the Minister of Industry please update the House on our government's reaction to yesterday's decision by the CRTC?
Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The CRTC decision from yesterday is an important contribution to ensuring that we have more competition in Canada's wireless sector by putting a cap on roaming rates and ensuring that access to roaming is going to be accessible to new players. It's going to create more competition all across this country. You know, we've put more spectrum into the hands of the private sector and therefore Canadians than any government before in Canada's history. And it's essential that we keep having policies that will keep us competitive so consumers have more choice, lower prices, and more competition in all regions of Canada.
The Honourable Member for Honoré-Mercier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many Canadians are currently trapped in Nepal, and to get out, many of them are looking for alternatives because our government does not have enough resources on the ground. And yet citizens of other countries are not having so much trouble receiving services from their governments. How can the Minister explain the fact that so many Canadians trapped in Nepal are having so much difficulty getting consular services from their own country?
Mr. Speaker, we are thanking the Canadian Forces for their hard work in evacuating Canadians out of Nepal, and on 3 separate occasions, C-17 has been available to evacuate Canadian citizens that require assistance. We deployed additional consular staff to help deal with the crises. We have a dedicated staff that worked around the clock during for the Emergency Watch and Response Centre. We sent hundreds of emergency travel documents to assist travel. Consular operations are being run out of the Canadian consulate, and I'm sure in Delhi, and I urge Canadians and their families, if they have more concerns, to contact the Emergency Watch and contact them.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, in April, during Autism Month, I informed the Minister for Sport of the situation of a young gymnast from Lanaudière who was dreaming of participating in the Special Olympics. Even if he's talented and even if the family has offered to pay for all of his expenses, and even if it is fundamental to set a good example for autistic persons, he's being hampered by Special Olympics Canada, which doesn't recognize his sport as an official one. Can the Minister for Sport told me that he would review the issue. Can he tell me when he'll be making a decision? The Honourable Minister of State.
Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for that question. First of all, I would like to congratulate this young man for accomplishments he's done, and my office is working with Special Olympics Canada to make sure this matter is dealt with, and we are proud of supporting our athletes, especially Special Olympics Canada. We had $10 million in last year's budget and $20 million for Olympians and Paralympians this year. We're proud of our investment in sports. Thank you, Mr.
That concludes question period for today. The Honourable Member for Timmins James Bay is rising.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you for recognizing me. I was a little tardy there getting up. Mr. Speaker, I have such enormous respect for this House. It's 11 years of great service, and I want to express, if I had said anything that was untoward and any heckles yesterday, I would withdraw those remarks because I want to show my respect for this institution that we're all called to serve. Thank you.
Thank the honourable member for that. Tabling of documents dépôt de documents. I have the honour to lay upon the table the report of a Canadian parliamentary delegation concerning its visit to the United Kingdom on January 19th and 20th, 2015. Tabling of documents dépôt de documents. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 36.8, I have the honour to table in both official languages the government's responses to 18 petitions.
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 32.2, I would like to introduce in both the official languages the CSIS Annual Public Report.
Introduction of government bills.